So farmers have, there have been 10 rounds of talks. The last round was 2 days back. Um, so there have been two more rounds of talks since then. Farmers have given a call that they would do a Kisan parade on the outer ring road of Delhi on January 26th in the afternoon. That is, after the official parade is over, the Kisans will take out a tractor march around Delhi. Uh, as you know, as some of you who've been to Delhi would know, that Outer Ring Road is actually a major road of Delhi, and if the number of tractors that we have on the borders of Delhi already, and the numbers that are expected to join them, if that happens, that's going to be a huge thing. It would actually block a very major road of Delhi. This has obviously rattled the government. Uh, Government has, so there have been two more rounds of talks. In between, the ninth round did not get very much. The 10th round, the government has offered that they would stay the implementation of the laws for a year and a half. So a new offer was made that they can stay the implementation of the laws for a year and a half, but farmers have rejected it. So yesterday, farmers formally communicated that this is not acceptable. We want a repeal. Nothing short of repeal would be expected. Would be accepted. So that's where the dialogue is since we spoke. In the meanwhile, just to mention that in the meanwhile, massive mobilizations are taking place in the states, in particular in Punjab and Haryana, from where farmers can come to Delhi, and in, say, states like Rajasthan, from states neighboring Delhi, for mobilization to bring more farmers to Delhi. And this is really happening at a massive level. In Punjab, it's almost like everybody is going to land up. It's like that. In other states, the call is to mobilize um, in the state capitals. So between 23rd, that is tomorrow, and 25th, there are going to be sit-ins at all the Raj Bhavans, the seat of the governor in the state capital, in all the states. And on 26th, Solidarity Kisan parades are going to be done everywhere, in every state capital. So states from where farmers cannot reach Delhi would hold these programs in the state capitals, and the states in the neighborhood of Delhi, the farmers would come to Delhi. So that's where the mobilization is. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And also, Professor, can you please tell us when we read uh,
Sorry.
the farmers are trying to enter around Delhi. So, what are the major points that right now they are mobilized, and what is the balance of the forces in those points, and how the government try to stop them? What methods they are
Actually,
using, and
I
what
can
is the
show you.
response of?
Can I actually? One second. Where is?
Okay,
Can
yeah,
I
I can
do?
see.
Can I share the screen? Then I'll
Yeah,
show
sure.
you on a map where it is.
Yes, yes, sure.
Just give me a second.
Yeah, we can see.
Can you see this? All right.
Yeah.
This is an image of Google Map I took day not yesterday night, the night before. So
Yeah.
48 hours back. All the red points you see here are the places where farmers are protesting. Okay, this is Delhi. This is
Okay.
the GT road that goes towards Ambala in the north. So this connects to Punjab and further to Himachal and Chandigarh and so on. This is Singhu border. So this
Okay.
entire stretch is blocked. I mean, this is completely blocked. This has been blocked for now 2 months. It's completely disconnected. There is
So
no.
what would be the distance that is blocked?
This would be at least 15 kilometers,
15
and
kilometers.
the
Okay.
only way now is to take some arterial roads and go around it. This road, this circle, is what is called Kundli Manesar Road. So there is this really outer circle, which
Okay.
connects the sort of satellite towns. Oh no, no, not this one. The green line, the green circle. Sorry, the green circle is the Kundli Manesar road. This is functional. So somehow the lorries and tractors, trucks which have to pass are being able to get onto these. This road remains functional. This
Okay.
is barricaded. This is Tikri border. This goes to Rohtak, the
Okay.
Haryana entry. This is Tikri border. This is blocked. This is the road that goes to Jaipur, and this is Shahjahanpur. This is blocked.
Okay.
This is the road that this is another small road on which is blocked. This is the major. This is Faridabad, and this
Okay.
is Palwal. This is the road that's going to Mathura and then Mathura and then Madhya Pradesh, Bhopal, etc. This road is blocked here at Palwal, and this is the one of the connections to UP, and this is Ghaziabad. This is blocked at Ghazipur. So
Okay.
you
And
see,
the outer ring
all
road will,
around Delhi.
yeah.
Sorry,
And the outer ring road where the rally will take place, which should be the
that
inner circle of this green, right?
yeah, that's here. That's this circle. There is a
Yeah.
circle here. There is
Yeah.
a
And
circle here. So they are already inside the green circle in most cases, except
okay.
Shahjahanpur. They are already inside the green circle. So now they are going to actually converge to what is actually very much in the city. So right now they are on the borders of the city. They are not really inside the city. But you see, from here into this is a 15-minute. You see,
Hmm.
from Singhu border, and Singhu border is where the largest numbers are. In fact, Tikri border is even closer. From Tikri border to this place is again 15 minutes. And both these places, there are very large number of farmers. There is massive barricading. There's absolutely massive barricading. Now they have trucks and containers filled with sand, which block the road. So there are across
Okay.
the road, there are containers which are blocking the road, and these containers have been filled with sand, so they're incredibly heavy. But these
The government,
tractors will, the government
that's
has
what the government has
basically,
said.
that's the government. So government has basically put, I would have some photographs. Let me just show you for some photos from yesterday.
And yeah,
Yeah.
and meanwhile, when we are getting the photo, we'll see the today's topic. This the political economy of this farm bill.
Look
So
at
we'll,
this. Can you see this?
yeah.
Can you see how this is blocked? So this is a container filled with sand which has been just put there, and this has been done on all the routes and multiple points, and they have these containers, trucks and cranes on standby along this road, so that if the one barricade is breached, they can quickly make more. So obviously the state has also prepared for this.
Okay.
But so let's see what happens.
Yeah.
But this
Let's
is
see.
the kind. Yeah.
Today's topic is the political economy of the two farm laws. We'll go one by one. Even
Yeah.
the names itself are complicated. So when we deal with this a political economy of the third law, which looks simple, which is the Essential Commodities Act of 2020. So we government of India previously had made some of the commodities are essential. So because it is really essential, so people should be able to afford to get. And 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 if we talk in terms of the value of the money predominantly in the political economy sense has a value because it is not equally distributed. If everybody in the world or in the country have a equal amount of money, then I don't think so it has a value. So how this Essential Commodities Act amended with respect to this new laws, and how it is going to impact the people of India in general.
You see, essential commodities. There is a 1955 Essential Commodities Act, which was in force until now, which has been amended by this act. So this is an amendment act. The 1955 Act basically notified a whole set of commodities as essential commodities that included food commodities, milk, and all sorts of things, and various other things, also some non-food commodities, electricity, and so essential services, essential commodities were under the Essential Commodities Act. Now, as per the law provided the government regulatory powers over supply of these essential commodities, which meant that government could enforce limits on stocking these commodities. A problem that we face in India is that big traders and big companies that deal with some of these commodities can, in fact, hoard large quantities of this, and that results in price spurts. This is not uncommon at all. Very often you see onion prices have shot up, or potato prices have shot up, and so on. And there's clearly some market imperfection happening there. There is some stocking going on, and it's very common. For example, at the time of harvest season, the prices are low, and then once the farmers have sold their produce, it's hoarded, and then the prices go up, and then the traders release their produce. Now, the Essential Commodities Act was the main instrument that the government had to deal with this. Okay. Now, what the government has now done is actually, in the Essential Commodities Act amendment, is actually defies all logic. They have given up the regulatory powers. So they basically said that we will not regulate. We will
And
not
unlimited is the corporate can store.
unlimited stock
Unlimited.
holding is allowed. Unlimited stock holding is allowed by anybody can hoard as much as they like. No restrictions on holding can be imposed, except in conditions where the price of commodities rises 200% over the last year. Now this has been spelt out so vaguely, but in a very quantitative, like a formula, you will never be able to even establish. So if
Yeah.
today, for example, government sets stock holding limit, it's very easy for any trader to go to court and say that this condition is not met, so you cannot impose a limit on me. So that condition is actually very weak. So practically, what it has meant is that the government has completely given up the powers to regulate. Now this would have implications much more on consumers than actually on farmers. So this is
Yes.
an act. This is an act. Of course, the smallest of the farmers are also consumers. A large majority of farmers, given the unequal distribution of land, are also buyers of food, net buyers of food. Okay, but this is an act that would affect the working classes the most. This is an act that would affect the middle classes, because prices of food, the retail prices of food, the consumer prices of food, is what is going to be affected by this.
And meanwhile, the big corporate like Ambani, Adani, they already started construct. They already constructed big roads and the big refrigerator facilitated.
Absolutely. So there are big investments happening in silos. Uh, in fact, it's all kinds. One is buying up huge amounts of land, or being given huge amounts of land for construction of these storage capacity. That is happening at a big scale. The second thing that's happened is that Adani Group in particular has made fairly significant investment in silos. A lot of it is also for uh, basically providing storage facilities to the Food Corporation of India. So Food Corporation of India contracts with Adani, and
Mm.
Adani, the grain that is sold, meant to be sold to FCI, is now taken straight to the Adani silos and kept in the silos. I mean, it's a small part of the total FCI procurement, but it's a very significant change in the way the operations happen. You see,
Okay.
so
Yeah. Yeah. That's and second.
but you see, just 1 second. As you know, I mean, in some commodities, for example, apples, Adanis are a big player already. Okay, or pulses. There are big companies which are already in the process, in the value chain. It's the big companies which have a substantial hold. So for them to now hoard these commodities, unrestricted holding of these commodities, is a huge advantage that has been handed to these companies.
Okay. And before we go to the next point, since we are dealing with the hoarding, so the entire supply chain in India is managed by the small players so far. even in
Mhm.
they. But now when this is introduced, the Essential Commodities Act, provided the Ambanis or the Adanis are building a huge godows with the capacity, so what will happen to all the small players beside the
Well, small.
farmers and the consumers?
Absolutely. Surely. So small players would have to become agents of big companies. That's essentially how. I mean, after all, Adanis and Ambanis, if they have to buy things from, say, Punjab, they would need their franchisees and agents and that network of intermediaries. So, firstly, this, in my view, does not mean at all that the intermediaries would vanish. This is the campaign that the government has, that all of this would result in direct
Mm.
dealing of farmers with companies. No such
Yeah.
thing. Mukesh Ambani is not going to come and procure, is he? So he's going to have his company, he's going to have his setup, and in many cases, the way things happen in India, it's not even directly their own setup. They would actually just use up the existing setup. So I do expect that the existing network of traders and commission agents would just be subsumed under this umbrella of big
Hello.
corporates. So they will
Because
become their agents, and that's one reason why they are also not happy with this. So commission agents and traders in Punjab are protesting because they also realize that they will become essentially, agents and brokers of these big corporates rather than being entrepreneurs in their own right.
yeah, because this is the same lies when the government is spreading when they invoked Article 370 and allowed everybody to buy land in Kashmir. But who can go and buy land in Kashmir? So then, before we go to the actually happening on the ground,
Sorry,
since it's going good.
I've lost you.
So how? Yeah, the first law, the farmers.
I lost you, Karthik. I lost you in between. Suddenly,
Oh, no,
you
I try
froze.
to mention how the government is using this all this propaganda, the false propaganda in the case of Kashmir also, the 370 55 when it's revoked. They were telling the common man can go and buy the land in Kashmir, but who can go? We are not able to pay the rent to many of the people. So
Yeah, yeah.
and so now let us come to the another law. The Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce, which is
Yes,
also known as
yes.
the Promotion and Facilitation Act of 2020. So what does it mean? What it is impacting the political
FPTCA
economy?
is an act which is about agricultural marketing. Now, let me just explain the basic framework of how agricultural markets work. In the 1950s and 60s, most states set up what are called APMC Acts, Agricultural Produce Market Committee Acts. Now, under these APMC Acts, the state governments set up a market, an agricultural market. So let's say Ludhiana, an agricultural market is established in Ludhiana. What is this agricultural market? There is a market yard where the all the trading will happen. The sale and purchase of produce is going to happen. There is a market committee which regulates the functioning of this market yard, and importantly, an area is notified around this market yard. In Punjab, it's about 5 kilometers radius. An area is notified around the yard where no sale and purchase of produce can happen except in the yard and under the rules of this committee. Okay, that's the basic framework of this law. This has been amended. There is some diversity in some case. These are commodity specific. So wheat and rice cannot be traded, or a particular set of commodities cannot be traded in the specified area. Outside the specified area, there is no restriction. Any trading that has to happen, any sale and purchase that has to happen in the market, in that notified area, must happen in the yard and under the rules set up by the committee. This includes taxation, how much tax is to be paid, what cesses are to be paid, what kind of charges would be imposed on weighing, cleaning, bagging, etc., and how the price would be arrived at. So there would be an auction, for example. In most
Can you
cases, there is
please?
an auction mandate.
We
Yeah.
got this overall. So can you please give an
Yeah.
example of some commodity and
So for example,
some
if
area?
I bring my wheat to the mandi, I'm a farmer, I bring wheat to the mandi. It is, you basically go to a commission agent. The commission agent, so there are these kind of shops in that mandi. You go to a particular commission agent with whom you normally deal in places like Punjab and Haryana. farmers would have a fixed agent that you always deal with, and you often take credit from him, and there is a long-term relationship with the person. So you go to the commission agent and say, look, I've brought my produce. So he gets it weighed, okay, and then he convenes an auction. Okay, all the licensed traders in the mandi come there and they bid. They look at my grain, they can see the quality of the grain, and they bid. Now, if the price is
Mhm.
below the government's minimum support price,
Mhm.
then there is a government agency there, and the Markfed or Hefed or Food Corporation of India, they also bid, and they bid at MSP. So if MSP is the highest price, then I as farmer sell it, say I sell it to Food Corporation of India. If on the other hand a private trader bids the price higher than MSP, then I sell it to the private trader. Okay, so whoever sells bids the highest gets to buy my produce, and that's the way to get some competition in this and get the best price for the farmer, ensuring that government is there to put a floor, to set a minimum support
Okay,
price.
so this is where I have a question, and some of
Yeah,
my
yeah.
friends also have a question. Say now the wheat per quintal is like 780 or 800 around. That's what.
Paper
How
print. No, the MSP is 1925.
No, oh, so not
1925. Yes, yeah.
1800, 1900. When the MSP is 1800, I sell it to the trader or the agent for say 2000.
Yeah.
Now, from where the FDI will purchase later to distribute to the
Just
PD.
give me a second.
Now, the agents paid 2000. Now, the
Yeah.
government need to distribute wheat in the PDS and the rice to the PDS.
Right. Right.
And how the FDI will purchase from the agent.
You see, so correct. Now the thing is that normally the right for last several years, the situation is that the open market price is actually much lower than the MSP.
Oh, yes. Mhm.
So it in
And that is not
places where
legally bound. How they can buy lower than the MSP? So MSP is
the
only for
MS,
the government, not for the agent.
MSP is not a statutory obligation. You see, that's what the farmers are now demanding, that you have to make it a statutory obligation that no traders can bid less than that.
But
So
that is not actually MSP. It's a pseudo MSP.
exactly. It's a pseudo MSP. It is not actually a minimum support price. Now, what
What?
happens is essentially what happens is now the situation is that in states where you have mandis, okay. Now, you see, as I explained, under the APMC Act, the state government has to establish these markets. In most states, not many markets are established. There are no markets. They don't exist. Okay, there'll be far and few in suppose a state has two or three markets in the whole state, the farmers cannot access it, it's too far. There's if the market is 500 kilometers away from me, I mean it's too far for me to go, or 200 kilometers away from the village, it's too far to go. Swaminathan commission had recommended that there should be a market with a for every 80 square kilometer there should be one market or market yard. In reality, in most states, it's in excess of 500 square kilometers. There is no state which meets the condition of 80 square kilometers. In Punjab, it's 115 square kilometers. So in many places, there are no markets. And as I explained, outside the market area, there is no regulation, there is no restriction, and government agencies don't exist. So where
Okay.
there
And
is no
what this act
regulated,
says,
sorry.
what this act says, that promotion and facilitation. So
Now the
how?
act say so. What the act has done is the act says that outside the market yard, that market structure. You see, earlier there was an area outside the market yard where the rules of this market applied. You could
Okay.
not sell or buy outside the market yard. You had to sell it in the market yard within that, let's say, radius, within the notified area. Now the law says that there is no such area.
Oh, okay.
Outside the market yard, all produce can be bought and sold, and no rules will apply. State governments do not have powers to tax on trade that happens outside, so no taxation. Now that obviously means that when the trader buys the produce outside, he does not pay tax, and if the trader buys inside the market, then he pays tax. Obviously nobody will buy inside the market. All trading immediately shifts to outside the compound, because outside the compound the no taxation doesn't apply. So this has meant that the trade immediately shifts outside the market yard. You see,
And also anybody can come and buy.
anybody can buy, all right, but the point is that whoever buys it does not pay any tax on it. There is no regulation. This whole system of auctioning doesn't apply, nothing. So you can directly now deal with farmer, dupe him, force him, coerce him to sell at whatever price. And because of the taxation benefit you are getting, you basically have a sort of, specifically, you move the trade out. This means that the mandis immediately become defunct, because the trade goes out. Their income stops. They get no cesses and taxes and so on. They have no money left to do their upkeep and maintenance and so on, which would basically destroy the mandis. Now,
Yeah.
that's really the fear that the farmers have, that this would result in destruction of mandis. And if mandis are destroyed, then procurement stops, because government procures in the mandi. You see, if the mandi is destroyed because it has no money for its upkeep, then the whole system collapses. And that's
And
really the biggest worry.
and then the Act 1 and the Act 2, that is a Farmers Empowerment Protection Agreement on Price Assurance and the Farm Services Act. So they are linked, right? So how they are linked?
The second act is about the contract farming. Okay, that is about having a company having an agreement with farmers in advance, an advance agreement with the farmer, that farmer will grow a particular crop and
Mhm.
sell the produce to this company at a specified price. So basically, the farmer enters into a contract with the company in advance. The company
Mhm.
maybe gives him a credit or provides him seed, etc. And there is a deal that you are going to produce this commodity and supply it to the company at a certain price. Now, the problem there is that, one is that this price that is specified in the contract doesn't have to be above MSP. It can be a low price. And if the company has a monopoly, the farmers don't have a choice. They'll have to accept, they'll become price takers. They'll have to accept whatever price is on offer. They don't have a
Mhm.
choice. The second thing is that what happens if the market price, when the produce is actually brought to the market, is higher than the price that's been agreed to in the contract, then the farmers incur losses. The third thing is that what happen, you see, the experience so far has been that very often there is a fine print in these contracts, and the farmers are unable to figure that out. So what
Mm.
happens is that companies, for example, would impose quality restriction. They would reject your produce on the grounds of quality.
Mm.
And either then, because of its claim that the quality is poor, bring down prices or refuse to buy it.
Mm.
And this commodity may not have a market outside. Or in fact, in some cases, you may not even be allowed to sell it outside. So for example, PepsiCo has
Mm.
contract farming of potato. Now, these are specific varieties of potato which are used for production of Lay's chips. Okay, and it's a specific variety on which PepsiCo has patents. So you cannot sell it in the open market. You cannot produce it for the open market. You can only produce it for PepsiCo. Now, if PepsiCo imposes a quality restriction saying that your potatoes are too small or
Mm.
they're not round enough, and therefore the prices would be 10% of what had been agreed to, or we would not buy, you just have to dump your produce, because you cannot even sell it in the open market.
So it looks like this. If we combine all these three laws, with my understanding, and many of the people are writing, that first skews the way that how the farmers are linked with their agents, with their selling route, then monopolize it, then slowly completely take control of that route, then build big storages, godowns, and make the agriculture not profitable, not even livable, um, affordable. Then take the lands also. The corporates will get into the farming, and with the Essential Commodities Act, they can go and herd any much amount they want. So they will control the entire food security of the nation slowly.
Entire food chain, absolutely.
So question is, if they implemented this law in this January 2021, within how many years they will completely collapse the system? with the capacity that they are operating?
It's difficult to say, put a timeline, but you see, one is you're exactly correct. You see, the government has come in big time, and they're now eyeing the entire chain from production
Entire.
to the supply to the consumers, the whole chain. The corporate penetration, unrestricted corporate penetration has been offered. So that is clearly the case. Now, whether they can actually do it, and if they do it, how long will it take? I mean, frankly, I don't think so. I think they cannot handle the kind of resistance and protests. I mean, even now, when they've just formulated the laws, you see, nothing much has happened. You see what's happening in Delhi.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, this has been the history of the liberalization of agriculture. One step forward, two step back is the only way these people have managed to do it. Okay, and this has meant things only keep getting worse. Not only they do not manage to do what their agenda is, they actually mess up the whole system. This has
Yes.
been how things have happened. So I do not think they can actually do it. I mean, where would these millions of people go if you do this? You see, there is no alternative opportunity of employment you are providing to them. Okay,
Mm.
outside agriculture, there is no employment for these people. Now, if you take away their livelihoods in agriculture, what will you do with those people? Those people will sit on your, as they say in Punjabi, they'll sit on your chest. So you see, I mean, I mean, if you really think about it, the scale at which these guys are doing it, I don't think capitalists realize what they are talking about in terms of scale of people who are involved here, and those people are not, without any agency.
Thank you.